Hola! Amplifier. This is the Amplifier video. Happy Memorial Day, everybody. Do not thank me for Memorial Day. Yes, I did serve in the armed forces. That's Veterans Day. That's in November. Memorial Day is to thank people that died died serving. And don't forget the mercenaries. Don't forget the fucking mercs, man. Paid dudes that sacrificed their lives for oil companies. I don't know. I'm not as patriotic as maybe CNN or Fox News would like people to be. I wanted to do a real quick review on this one. This is the LCV from Edge Holdings. You can go to edgeholdings.com. There's the website. Edge is the parent to the Recoil brand, and they're marketing this one, which is a digital voltmeter with a level control, full range, RCA in, RCA out, and then there's your voltage turn on and constant. I'm not sure why there's a remote as well, but whatever. And I guess it does some other stuff. Maybe it provides, it has a rotary on-off switch for the voltmeter, which is cool. It's a blue LED display, which I don't know why they couldn't do it in color here. But the weird thing about it is that we're selling them for $20 each shipped. But basically the same product with a line output converter you can get on Amazon for $14. I got to get them to work on their pricing sometimes. And what's funny is I'm supposed to get 10% over cost, and they overcharge me all the time. So, but the guys at Recoil make it up to me with the returns, and they're nice to me. I'm nice to them. So sometimes corporate doesn't play nice to outsiders, and I'm still considered an outsider. So, but right now we're just charging $20 each because I think my cost on them is probably, I want to say 16. So plus shipping, it gets in there. I don't know why she's charging me 16 for them, but that's what she is. And I ended up getting a whole fucking master back, which is 50 pieces. So maybe later I'll get a refund or something. I don't know. Well, we'll see. But anyways, it's a neat little device, and do they have it on their website? I don't think so. Let me see. I might be talking out of my ass. Hang on. LCV. Let's see if it's in there yet. No, it's coming soon. Okay, so it's not even on the Recoil store, even though they got the product in there. They just haven't talked about the... and also, if you want to poke around on edgeholdings.com, they have a lot of really great stuff. When you use the website through your mobile device, there is not a search feature. So you want to use the desktop version, or when you're using, like me, I use Android, so you can tell Chrome to look at the full size website. So the full size version, the web HTML version, or whatever you want to say it. And it should have a search engine, so you can search by part number. But there is a lot of new stuff, and there's a lot of stuff that they sell in other markets, such as Asia, that they don't sell here yet. Maybe, I don't know. It depends on how receptive and how well they do on some of this other stuff. So, but I wanted to talk about that. What I really wanted to talk about was Amplifier. Okay, so I don't want to call them features because they're not features. These are things that are common to all amplifiers, which for some reason, I've noticed the last, maybe a year and a half, that Big D Wiz has been giving the efficiency numbers at 4 ohm, 2 ohm, and 1 ohm, which I don't care about, but I don't have an issue with Derek on that. You guys get real sensitive about that. The problem I have is that people pay too much attention to that as if it's important, and it's not. And somebody complained. They say, "Well, if efficiency is only 50%, why am I buying Class D in the first place?" I'm like, go test a Class A B and see what you get at the same impedance. Okay. One thing that's great about Class D is that you can go into those lower impedances. going into lower impedances isn't always great. Again, it depends on how they design the circuit and what it's for. If you actually want to get maximum BL and maximum like awesomeness, have high voltage going into high impedance voice coils. Like, you know how many windings are on a 16 ohm voice coil or an 8 ohm voice coil? A lot. Those will give you more BL numbers if you guys really want to do SPL, which, you know, everybody goes down to like fractions of an ohm and they think they're all badass. It's like when you do that, you end up, you know, getting rid of all your windings. That's where your BL comes from, is the windings. You want a high impedance. And then if you do the whole, you know, box rise compensation thing, and as long as you're not playing the lowest frequency on the DCR, then you're fine. Okay, but otherwise don't. Again, that's the other one, is box rise, impedance rise, and I listened to I listened to Bear Vids go on about it and try to explain it how, and it. I think he's misrepresenting what that is and whether or not it should be calculated. Okay, so I will do a demo to show you. It shouldn't make a difference whether the box is big or small if you can get away with it, because there's a certain point on the sweep where that's the lowest impedance it's going to hit, and if you play anywhere near that frequency and you're down too far for your amplifier, basically when you guys are quote unquote compensating for impedance rise or box rise, you're really just hot rodding the amplifier. You're abusing the amplifier. The amplifier can play into lower impedances momentarily, but you're basically abusing the amplifier. And that's why I never recommend it. I never recommend compensating or accounting for box rise. It's because it's bullshit. And the only time you might see a fraction of a dB is in competition when you're playing one note. That's it. That's it. And 99.9% of you guys are not competing on that level of where you have to do that. You know, you haven't sunk $100,000 into your build. If you're going to sink $100,000 into your build, yeah, then you better compensate that, because you're only going to play one note. It's not for listening. It's for blowing up microphones, okay? Or piezo electric diaphragms, okay? Piezoelectric, whatever it is. But back to amp efficiency, you pay more attention to your dollar per dB or dollar per watt. That's better attention. Sometimes you'll see less efficiency on a cheaper amp, and there's several reasons for that. But again, what are you paying dollar per dB or dollar per watt? So you can buy, you know, an amplifier from JL or Digital Designs or somebody like that, and it might be more efficient. But what are you paying for that? Just like, you know, the king of idiots, MB Enclosures, talks about cone area is king. It's not king. What is king is displacement. Does a square woofer have more cone area? Yes, but how much displacement does it have? And also, how much are you paying for that extra displacement or even cone area? Are you paying a premium? If you're paying double for a relatively same power round device, you're not getting a good value. So what's the point? And again, that's a gimmick to get more money out of you. A side note on Neo supercharged DD subwoofers, that is a gimmick as well. You can put, Travis Young from JY Power was explaining to me, I was like, dude, I don't understand this. Like, and it's sort of like a Faraday ring. Like, I'm sure on low levels you can see a difference, but when you start maxing it out, it just doesn't fucking matter, and it doesn't show up in the performance, right? You're not getting extra dBs for putting a Neo ring magnet or disc on the pole piece. You're not. If you did, everybody would do it, and they're not. So stop paying for it, because they're just taking your money, and you're an idiot. So, but a fool and his money will soon part ways. So there you go. The other one was somebody said, well, you know, do I have to put a fan on Class D? You don't have to, but here in Arizona, if you have a dark colored car and it's summertime, yeah, you're gonna have to. unless you put it in like the cabin and you do what I did, which was I was a fucking maniac because I had my car apart for 10 years, where you put it, if you put your air conditioning on what's called bi-level, where it blows on your feet and in your face, and then you stuff, I use socks, in all the other vents except for one of the feet one. Then what you do is put it on feet only so that the cold air only comes out of one vent. And then you super glue a thermo sensor, which I got at fucking Radio Shack, to the side of your amplifier so you can see how hot it's getting. And then you can sit there and watch it cool down as you put the air on it, on the cold air from the air conditioner. Again, if you just kind of overbuild your system, you can avoid a lot of those overheating problems. If you avoid having a dark colored car in the summertime, you can avoid some of those problems. If you put your amplifier in the cabin with you and cool it down with air conditioning, that helps as well. Some of you guys just keep pushing the limits and you're kind of dumb, and so you have to learn the hard way because you don't want to listen. So I had a guy the other day, I had to do a soft ban on him, which is where I just basically say, I don't want your money. And then he gets a level of upsetness, and then we hang up. So, but he was bad-mouthing Oscar for Oscar Subs, Mr. Music Man. And so I don't like to badmouth Oscar because if Oscar's subwoofers suck, it's not because Oscar built them shitty. It's because he bought them shitty. Oscar doesn't build anything, okay? Mr. Music Man doesn't build anything. But there was no reason for the end user to blow the woofers. The end user was abusing them, and he was bad-mouthing Oscar because what happened was the Oscar was overcharging, and the guy fed into it and ended up trading, like Oscar was selling them for I think $800 or $900 each, and these 18s, I think they were his Neo 18s, and the guy ended up trading them like $3,500 worth of shit. And then he comes to me and he's like, hey, can you build me 418s? And I was like, sure. They're $500 each. And because I had known this guy and worked with this guy, and I'm like, I'll make him super awesome gonzo. And then all of a sudden he comes back wanting to like negotiate on price, and I'm like, dude, I'm already charging you half of what Oscar did, and you're complaining. Like, no. So he argued with me to get me to take his money, which is always a mistake. But I relented and I said, fine, come over. And then he never came over. And then he called me up yesterday and was like, I reminded him, I go, yeah, I remember our conversation now. And he's like, well, my daughter was in the hospital and almost died. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to argue that. Okay, I'm not going to sit there and call him a liar for that, whatever. But I remember him trying to come back, and also I didn't like that he was bad-mouthing Oscar as if Oscar did something wrong. And Oscar didn't do anything wrong. The only thing wrong in my eyes, Oscar overcharged him, but that's between him and the user. But the user abused the woofers, and he was running them at fucking half ohm and abusing the amp, and then he's like, I wasn't doing anything, and all of a sudden everything went up in smoke. And it's like, well, yeah, you pushed the limits and you found the limits, and the limits started a fire. So don't fucking do that. But that's my story on just people being dumb and having to learn the hard way, and just it's typically a younger guy that has a little too much money and time on his hands. I had these two guys show up in Scat Cats or Hellcats or whatever the fuck they are. I don't give a shit about fucking Mopar. But anyways, he's sitting there burning rubber around every corner, and he was wanting more and more stereo stuff, and it was costing more and more money. And I'm like, dude, you just spent a whole bunch of money on this other bullshit. The system you want cost about $1,500 from me, which is about $3,000 from a shop. And I was like, that's what I think you need to spend on electrical and all this other stuff. And I said, but he was complaining about price and all this kind of stuff, and he was sitting there trying to figure out some sort of hack to get around having to pay. And I'm like, if you want performance, you have to pay. That's just the way it is. You're consuming more stuff, and that stuff costs money. So unless you're like some hot porn star with big fake tits, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about money. So, but it's typically these user guys or young guys and just guys with, I'm a fan of Tom Segura and his wife. What's her name? I forgot her name. Anyway, she just came out with a Netflix special. She's not that funny, but I like her on Your Mama's House podcast, which is Tom Segura's and his wife's podcast. And I don't know where I was going with that. God damn it. Oh, cool guys. They have a thing about cool guys. And it's any guy that's a grown man that is trying to be cool is a danger to society. That's what it is. Cool guys. So cool guys, C-O-O-L, cool guys. People, grown men trying to be cool, trying to be hip, trying to be whatever, impress girls and shit like that, are trouble. And so if they come into your shop or they want to buy stuff off you, and it's that same typical, wanna be baller, wanna be drug dealer, wanna be, whatever. If they were really as important as they think they are, they would not negotiate like that, right? Real rich people don't dress with gold chains and the latest fashions. They just wear practical clothes that they don't have to think about. So if you see anybody wearing nice clothes or nice shoes or J's or whatever it is, or a fancy watch or gold or anything like that, that's a uniform to try to signify to society about their status. And the problem that I have with that is my same argument about being Amish or Muslim, where if you're changing your appearance, your outward appearance to reflect your beliefs, there's an issue with you. You're out of line with society. You're trying to stand out. So don't get mad when people take notice of you. The other thing is my argument about any sort of jewelry or rings or gold or anything like that. Those are just material items, and they don't mean that you have wealth. It just means you spent money or out of a poker game got this watch or whatever. And that's my same theory about getting a fucking Black Widow neck tattoo. Anybody can get it, and I'm not impressed. Go away. If you want to impress me, treat me nice. Treat me well. Treat me like a human being that's trying to help you. If you want to impress me, treat me with respect. Text me. Don't call me. Okay. If you honor anything that I do in these videos, don't call me. Okay. I give my phone number out to everybody, but don't call me. Just text me. Introduce yourself. Say, hi, my name is blah, blah, blah. This is my shipping address. And what I'll do is I'll say, great, nice to meet you. And then I'll add you to my phone and my list of contacts so that I know who the fuck I'm talking to. If I ask you more than twice, I'm not going to do business with you, okay? Because I've already asked you twice and you're not giving me what I need in order to function. So that tells me that there's something wrong with you. And I'll immediately bail on anything that I'm doing with you because you think you're more important than you are. And that's not what I want to need to deal with. So I had another issue come up. I was talking to Sherry earlier about, while it's fresh in my head, and I'll get back to amplifiers, which was, oh God, it's slipping away. It's about assuming the worst about people. So is the moment that you assume the worst about someone, right? Like if you assume that they robbed you, or you assume that they're tricking you or lying to you, as soon as you assume that, the relationship is on its path to doom. And if you continue down that path, it will just fold and become either dysfunctional, cancerous, or it will end. Okay, so if you want to think, if you want to respect me and do things with me, assume the best about me. And when I tell you something, I'm telling you the truth. Just take it at face value. Don't sit there and think that something means something else and all that other kind of shit. So, but I was explaining this to my wife, Sherry, because her family has used her for many, many years. And the problem that they have, the tendency that they have, is to assume the worst about me, and that of course dooms the relationship. But because she's married to me, they now start assuming the worst about her, and that is completely out of line, and that will cause the relationship to end. And then I let her know, I said, you know, when I'm dealing with somebody over stereo stuff or whatever it is, if they do assume the worst about me, I call them out on it immediately. I go, nope, because the problem is they may not even be aware of it. They may not even be aware that they're manipulating the conversation, or they're manipulating the relationship. So a lot of times when somebody assumes the worst about you, their excuse is that they're scared or that they've been burned before. And the problem with that is that I'm not your daddy, I'm not your mommy, and I'm not them, and I haven't wronged you. So for you to treat me like that is wrong. The other problem is that you've now assumed the worst about me in the relationship, and you want me to grovel or comfort you so that we can be normal again. And that's a problem, because now that makes you a liability. It also makes you unpredictable. I've turned away grown men. There was a grown man. He was a older black guy that my friend Connor, white Connor, not black Connor, had referred to me, and that's what he did. He didn't want to pay me up front, and he wanted to pay me half now, half later. And I go, dude, I don't have time for that. I said, I'm being honest with you. If you don't give me everything up front, you're not going to be a priority. I'm just too fucking busy. And he didn't believe me. And so I said, okay. And then of course I finish it. And then when he's done, guess what? He doesn't have the money. And so that's why I tell people, and when I'm coaching people to do your own version of robot in your neighborhood, get payment up front. And if they go, no, I don't do that with anybody, then I go, then walk away. And you immediately start taking better dollars from better people, from a better quality of person. You want to build trust. The trust is more valuable than the deal, because the trust creates a lifetime client rather than a one-time exchange. Okay? It's much more valuable. And at this point, I don't have time to Mickey Mouse with somebody who doesn't trust me. If you don't fully trust me, I don't want anything to do with you. That's the end of it. So I only want to deal with people with integrity and who trust me. And if I am late, if I don't hold up my end, believe me, I will compensate you. I will make it worth your while. I will say sorry, and I will mean it. And any of the guys that have dealt with me that have done that and have been patient and hung in there, guess what? They got a bunch of cool free shit. And I really don't care about that. That's not the point. The point is I want to have that relationship. Now, if you're whining and moaning and all that kind of stuff, and you assume the worst about me, and you think that I stole from you and all this, no, we're done. And so when anybody assumes the worst about you, whether it's your parents or a sibling or a cousin or whatever it is, or somebody you're just doing business with, that is the end of the relationship. Any more interaction in that, and it's going to be codependency and dysfunction. It's not healthy, and it's not for either one of you, because then you become their enabler, and they end up abusing you. So, okay, sorry, little sidetrack on there, but it was a good thought that I wanted to get out. Just about doing business in the world and dealing with people in general. But back to amplifiers, let's see. Fanon Class D. Somebody had asked me the other day, what's the difference? They said they get more bass with a 24 dB slope crossover filter versus a 12 dB. That is not true. All the filter is, and typically on a, most of you guys deal with just bass. That's all you're focused on, and that's all you care about. So there's no difference between an 18, 12, or 24 slope. All it does is it's a rate of decay or a rate of cutoff of the highs. That's it. The problem if you go a little too steep is then what happens is you don't get a good blend or an overall frequency response. Sometimes they call it a roll off into the speaker that's next to it, meaning next to it in the frequency range. So that's why I typically like to cross the subs up at, like, say 120 or even 150 hertz. And if you don't want too many vocals in them, what you can do is use a slightly steeper crossover filter. I know in some of those, I think they're Pioneer head units, a lot of you guys have, and you can choose 12, 18, or 24 dB slopes. Just play around with it. because there's a couple of different ways to fix the frequency response, and sometimes you can manipulate it through a crossover, and the crossover point, meaning where the high pass meets the low pass. Sometimes you can do an overlap. Sometimes you can do an underlap, especially if you don't have an equalizer to sort of fix problems that you might have. So again, study that. There is no. Sometimes when I laugh too, it's not that I don't mean I'm not laughing at you. So don't get mad if I laugh if you ask me a dumb question. And they say there's no dumb questions. There's plenty of dumb questions. What I want you to do is use your brain and think it through and think about it. One of the things that I did tell them about, well, JL Audio offers 12 dB slopes and blah, 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 and this and that. And it's like, again, what that is marketing. So I think what they do offer on the old Slash amps, if I remember right, is they offer an optional 12 dB high pass, low pass, or I think, no, just on the Slash 500 Slash 1000 and the Slash 250. I think they offer a bandpass option, if I remember right. And then, but if you put both of the filters in low pass and you what's called cascade them, which is you put them both at the same frequency, you will get a steeper slope, a steeper roll off. Does that get you more bass? No. What gets you more bass is more BL, and which is motor force, and also more voltage. Subwoofers love voltage. Tweeters and mids love high current. I don't quite know the reasons behind the high current thing with the mids. To me, it's all voltage. It's all just, if you give something high voltage, it's gonna fucking move the cone. And subwoofers deal a lot in that, a lot of high voltages. And that's why they respond to more powerful amplifiers. That's it. And always remember that the amplifiers, you don't get the power that powers them for free. That comes from your alternator, that comes from a battery bank, that comes from several different sources. And if you don't manage that properly, you're going to run a deficit on your system. And so you're going to run into alternators burning up, batteries, with the plates collapse. They short out, it warps them. They start spewing, all kinds of stuff happens to batteries when you abuse the shit out of them. And don't blame it on the equipment, blame it on your ignorance. And don't be, again, I don't mean to use this phrase as a derogatory term, but don't be a dumb girl, okay? Where, and and you could say this about person and all that other stuff, whatever. Don't be a dumb person where you're like, well, I don't know why the check engine light is on and the little magic oil lamp is on. I put gas in it. That's the thing I'm talking about. Know what your car does and what it does to gasoline or fuel or whatever it does, and how the thing fucking works. You don't have to know every detail, but you gotta know the ideas. So when a light comes on, you're not an idiot. But that's why they're called idiot lights. Because if a light comes on, you've been an idiot. You've done something wrong. You're a dummy. So, or dummy lights. That's also what they're called. Excuse me. And if you don't like looking at them, you can just put some black tape over them. But speaking of dummies, Tony Baloney. I don't think I'm. Well, maybe I am. So I had criticized Tony DeMore's patent on his new EV series amplifiers, and I said all you did was put a battery in there. Or if you look at Tony's work, Tony did the. I think I talked about this previously. Let me see. Let me type it in real quick. Hold on. I don't have any voice. Rockford Osgate. It's called the 15K, if I remember right. Yeah, there it is. So, hybrid SQ SPL. Again, it's just an amplifier. There's no such thing as SPL or SQ. It's just an amplifier. It turns a little signal into a big signal. Now, what was unique about this amplifier that was designed by Tony, and it has some of his DMOR engineering features like the little LED VU meters. The other thing that it used was they never really sold these. Rockford never produced them to sell them. They were mostly just for promotional purposes, and they'd send them out to people like Steve Mead, and I think there's a video that has Steve Mead demoing it. And what Tony did was he got a nice supply. At the time, supercaps were on the upper end of availability. Like they were only available in high value situations. And the ones that are in these amplifiers are actually used, supercaps, removed from windmills and wind farms. And so technically it has used parts in it. And I think that's one of the reasons why they didn't sell any of them retail. So you put a high, big price tag that nobody's ever going to pay, and it just looks desirable. That's it. So the retail price, $25,000. Oh, what a big savings, $4,900. And again, they don't ever sell any. They just probably do a contract with you if you're a good salesperson, and then they'll actually give it to you, or they'll sell it to you cash or something like that, or whatever it is. And you have to promote it, and there's an agreement and all this other stuff. So, but this is Tony's amp, and one of the things that he showed on the display was he was sitting there, had it hooked up, and then he disconnects it, and it still plays. And the reason why he did that is because in the rails, the up and down rails, the positive and negative rail, that's where he put the super caps. So this is where Tony developed that idea. And his patent actually covers the same idea, and that's what all this baloney is, where he talks about way over 100% efficiency. It's not 100% efficient. It's power in, there's losses, and then there's power out. There's no 100% efficiency. But Tony is manipulating the language and the way that he does it in order to make you dumb people. If you're smart, you see right through this bullshit. But there's a lot of dumb people out there, and I'm not calling you dumb as a derogatory or a shameful way. I just want you to educate yourself that there's a ton of snakes like that out there at like PS Audio, that guy, I forget his name, he's an idiot too. And people that are just very technically savvy in a way that is manipulative, okay? And again, this is just my opinion. You can observe it yourself. It's up to you. You can actually read the patent. You can go to Google's patents. There's the URL. And that's Tony's patent. And you can read it right in there. It says, recreational vehicle. The voltage converter charges the rechargeable battery and an audio amplifier that is powered by the rechargeable battery. So he puts a rechargeable battery on the rails. That's it. You can also put it on the input side. So if you want to do like a low voltage, so because remember it's 12 volts in, and that would probably be cheaper to do, and that's probably what Tony does. So I have not seen the inside of his amplifier, and he probably won't show it for a while. Tony got on my page, my YouTube page, and was like, blah blah blah. You'll see. There's already companies wanting to license my technology and my patent. And I was like, good. Again, a lot of the times where there's a patent involved, it's not really, just because something's patentable doesn't mean it's a good idea. It just means nobody else did it. That's all. And they were the first ones to register it with the government. That's it. So like in my case, I was the first one to have the idea for Robot Underground. But guess who beat me there? That's right. Nerdy girls. So there you go. And they're not going to do shit with it because they know it would not be in their best interest to do anything with it. So, and of course, I will get the IP back when I sell everything to Tesla, or even just close shop on this whole thing when I go make movies, because I don't give a shit about it. Patrick, don't go. I will go. I will go. I can't sit there and teach every dummy about the stupid tricks that people do on the internet to everybody. You just have to be aware, right? All I can tell you is like protect your butthole. There's gonna be people, whether they're in your church or somebody you trust is gonna fucking rip you off. Somebody is gonna abuse you. You cannot prevent it. What you can do though is be strong and fight back and address them whenever they do try to do something or when they do breach that. Okay? So I talked about yesterday about bishops in the Mormon church, diddling people. And the joke was that because I shaved my legs and I shaved my hair and I shaved my pubes, the joke was that I shaved everything so that my bishop wouldn't want me, right? Because when you're a Mormon, 8 years old is when when they believe that you can make a covenant with God and you get baptized. Not that you get pubes at 8, but anyways, it was just a light joke about molestation. That's all. So don't take yourself so serious. And if you got molested, get over it. You survived. Good job. Don't fucking put any more fuel into it. don't go back to that church. Don't go hang around that guy anymore. So again, so if you don't want to get molested on your wallet, don't buy dumb stuff like this. You can create that by putting a battery on the outside of the device. You can do the same fucking thing. Again, has anybody integrated it into the amplifier? No. And that's what Tony got the fucking patent for. Because people are like, that's dumb, because now you're putting a battery inside the amplifier, which it's going to age or it's going to leak, it's going to need service, it's going to need to be swapped out. And that's why nobody has done it. Tony's like, fuck that, I'm going to do it. And he did it. So good for you, Tony Baloney. I still think it's dumb, and it's not going to go anywhere, and I hope it doesn't go anywhere. Because I don't want to support people that they make their money tricking you. I don't like that. There's so much money you can make with trust. There's so much more money you can make with trust than just tricking someone and getting the best of them. And I wish I could just burn that into your brain. Anyways, it's been 35 minutes, 36 minutes. I love you guys. Have a good Memorial Day. I'm still looking for the tweeters, the PA tweeters. I also have some 18s and 15s I think we have available. I wanted to show you they're very cost affordable, and I'll show you how to get them. Some of the other stuff you can only get through either me or for Recoil and stuff like that. Anyways, let me cool off because I had to turn off the fans in order to make this thing quiet enough. But I love you. I will talk to you later. Yeah, don't fall for the Tony Baloney. Love you. Bye.